Welcome to CINEMATICON Ex Mortis, the horror movie podcast hosted by Kenny and
Heather.
And today we are going to talk about Witchfinder General from 1968, aka The Conqueror Worm, for our American listeners. But before we do that, last time I mentioned that I was going to do a series of polls on the website twitter.com, and I did those polls, so I thought we could, I don't know, just chat about that for a little bit. Did you have a chance to look at those, Heather?
No.
Okay.
So this will be exciting to hear the results.
Yeah, there were some really fascinating results, honestly. Not that many people voted, sometimes in the range of like 0 people for some of them, but for most of them I did get votes, and they're interesting. So I went from 1999 down to 1990, and I just asked what was the best horror movie of that year, and I gave 4 options that I think are kind of like the 4 main contenders. So the first one was, what was the best horror movie of 1999? I put Audition, Blair Witch Project, Sixth Sense, and Sleepy Hollow. So maybe this will be fun. I'll have you guess which one won.
Blair Witch.
No.
No?
No, that actually got no votes.
What? So Audition.
That is interesting because you chose the 2 wrong answers.
That's so weird.
One person voted Sixth Sense and one person voted Sleepy Hollow.
I would pick Sleepy Hollow personally because I love that movie so much.
Maybe you did pick it. Maybe you were that person.
I don't think it was me. But I didn't know that you would consider that a horror film.
I think so. It's got some scary stuff.
We should cover that movie.
Like that witch whose eyes bug out, like Large Marge. Remember that?
Yes. I will never forget it as long as I live.
You got headless Christopher Walken.
Yeah, I love that movie.
If it was me voting, which I should say, I was totally on the level, and I didn't put my thumb on the scale for any of these.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had, it would have been for Audition. I think Audition is probably the best one of 1999.
Interesting.
And my second place would go to Blair Witch. So whoever voted on this was completely wrong.
I don't know if you can say that.
Yeah, just kidding, listeners. Please don't hit stop and hit the hate button. Is there like I know there's like button. Is there a hate button?
No, thank God.
So the second one, actually nobody voted on it, sadly. This was the one that everyone skipped.
Okay, what was it?
Best horror movie of 1998. The options were Bride of Chucky, Fallen, The Last Broadcast, and Ring or Ringu. 98 was kind of a rough year for horror.
Okay. What would you have picked?
I would have gone with Ringu.
Okay.
But to be fair, I haven't seen Bride of Chucky, so I've just heard that it's like, it's like a horror comedy kind of thing. So it might be up my alley. Someday I'll get around to watching that whole series.
Mm-hmm.
But I've only seen the first one. Then the third one was for 1997. The options were Cube, Event Horizon, Funny Games, and Scream 2.
I haven't seen any of those, so I wouldn't have been able to vote. Anyway.
Do you have a guess?
No. The only one out of those I've even heard of is Scream 2.
Well, that did get a vote, but Cube won with 2 votes.
Oh, wow. Landslide.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 66.7% of the vote. That's massive. I would vote for that too. I like Cube.
Okay.
For 1996, the options were The Frighteners, From Dusk Till Dawn, Scream, and Thesis. What did you think won?
Scream.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one got 6 votes, all for Scream.
Wow.
So I'm surprised nobody voted From Dusk Till Dawn, but I'm kind of happy that they didn't, because this is a hot take, I guess. I hate that movie.
I'm not a big fan. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't see what people see in it.
Other than the Salma Hayek scene, like,
Yeah, well, if you have a foot fetish, okay, that I get it. Then I do understand what you see in that, but
I do not.
and in every Quentin Tarantino
Yeah.
film.
That was definitely one of his footiest films.
Yeah, it's a pass from me. So 95, the options were The Day of the Beast, In the Mouth of Madness, Mute Witness, and Seven.
Oh. The only one I've seen out of those is Seven, and Seven is really good.
Yeah, it got all the votes too.
Yeah, it's so good.
But In the Mouth of Madness is also really good, so I would check that out. And I haven't seen the other two, so they could also be good. Who knows? Some of these I hadn't seen 4 films from that year, or 4 good ones, so I had to kind of just look around and see what other people said were the best. So 94, the options were Cemetery Man, Interview with the Vampire, New Nightmare, meaning Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and Wolf.
Okay. Well, the only one out of those I've seen is Interview with the Vampire, and I love that movie.
That one sort of won. It tied. It got 1 vote, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare got 1 vote. And I would actually go with Cemetery Man. If you haven't seen that, it's a surreal, bizarre Italian film, and I think it's pretty great. Next up is 93. The options are Kronos, The Dark Half, Leprechaun, and Needful Things.
And which one won?
Kronos and Leprechaun each got 1 vote.
Interesting.
And this is one where it's hard for me to really say. The only one I've seen is Kronos, and I'm not that big of a fan of it. So, moving on. 92, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Candyman, Dead Alive, or Brain Dead, and Single White Female are the options.
Those are a lot of good films.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah, that was a better year.
I don't know what I would pick.
I think I would go with Candyman as the best, and that is what the voters also thought. That got 3 out of the 4 votes. 1 vote went to Bram Stoker's Dracula.
That movie is ridiculous.
Yeah, but I need to watch it again. But
it's like entertaining, but it is ridiculous. That is a ridiculous film.
It is, and that's kind of how I appreciate it. I kind of watched it as a horror comedy.
It's hilarious. It is. That movie is so funny. I don't think they meant it to be that funny, but I was crying with laughter when I watched it.
Yeah, so it's either like really good or really bad, you know? Like if they intended that, then it's really good.
I think it's terrible, but like in a good way.
Second to last one. 1991. The options are Cape Fear, The People Under the Stairs, The Pit and the Pendulum, and The Silence of the Lambs.
Ooh, well, I've only seen The Silence of the Lambs out of those, but it's my favorite horror movie, so.
Yeah, this one, The Silence of the Lambs did win, but people were more split. It looks like People Under the Stairs got 2 votes and Cape Fear got 1. So I guess I need to check out The People Under the Stairs because I haven't actually seen that. And, okay, now last one. 1990, the options were The Exorcist 3, Frankenhooker, Jacob's Ladder, and Misery.
Ooh, Misery's so good. Misery's so good.
Yeah, it actually didn't get any votes.
What?
Only one person voted, and that person voted for Jacob's Ladder.
Okay.
Which I also think is really good.
I've never seen it, but I'm never going to.
This is a really good year, because Exorcist 3 is really good too.
Okay, well, are you happy with your results?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fun, and you listeners, you can let us know in the comments if you want us to keep doing this. For now, I guess after we release this episode, I'll do another round of these for the 80s, because the 80s are pretty sweet. I mean, the 90s, there were some bum years, like 1998, where it's like you're really kind of digging to find 4 films, but I don't think the 80s are going to be like that. The 80s are going to be really competitive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess we should get around to talking about today's motion picture. We watched Witchfinder General, which was a British film released in 1968, directed by Michael Reeve, co-written by Reeve with Tom Baker, based on the 1966 novel of the same title by Ronald Bassett, which in turn was loosely based on the real career of the 17th century witch hunter Matthew Hopkins. The film stars Vincent Price, Ian Ogilvy, and Hilary Dwyer, and it features a musical score by Paul Ferris. So some interesting behind-the-scenes stuff on this one. AIP, the production company that made the film, had previously done a string of Poe adaptations, usually directed by Roger Corman and starring Vincent Price, that generally did very well at the US box office. So, when they released this film, they retitled it The Conqueror Worm for its US release, and they added voiceover to the beginning and end of the picture, where Vincent Price reads the Poe poem called The Conqueror Worm in an attempt to pass the film off as another film in that series, even though it really isn't. Meanwhile, the violent scenes in the film were heavily censored in the UK cut. And then on top of everything else that happened to this poor movie, Paul Ferris's excellent score was replaced on the home video releases for a number of years due to rights issues. Thankfully, though, modern DVD and Blu-ray releases usually feature a director's cut, in quotation marks, that is presumably closest to how Reeve would have wanted it to look. He died at the age of 25, just months after the film's release, so that's why I put director's cut in quotation marks. It's just sort of restoring the film back to what it should have been on release. Plot summary. Spoiler alert. So, at the beginning of the film, it is 1645, and the English Civil War is raging, with supporters of Parliament fighting against supporters of King Charles's divine right to rule. A soldier serving in Oliver Cromwell's parliamentary army named Richard Marshall visits his hometown, where he stays with the village priest John Lois, who is the uncle and guardian of Richard's sweetheart, Sarah. Lois gives Richard permission to marry Sarah in hopes that he will get her out of town, as they've become unpopular due to their religious beliefs, and he fears that some trouble will ensue. Turns out he's right. After Richard leaves to rejoin the army, self-appointed witch hunter Matthew Hopkins arrives in town with his lackey John Stern. Taking advantage of the chaos of the war, Hopkins goes about finding and executing supposed witches with the collusion of superstitious townsfolk. No sooner does he arrive than Lois is accused of witchcraft and tortured. To save her uncle, Sarah agrees to sleep with Hopkins, but he decides to execute Lois anyway. When he finds out what's happened, Richard vows to kill Hopkins, and he sets off on a desperate quest for vengeance. Okay. So, I guess my first discussion topic here is, do you consider this to be a horror film?
I guess, because I was horrified, so, yeah, I suppose.
What about it did you find horrifying?
Probably all the rape stuff. It's just, like, really... It's really hard to watch. This movie was really hard to watch.
Yeah. I think that was intentional. So the film got censored in the UK, and even so, critics were really harsh on it and said it was a exploitation film and it shouldn't be so gory. And I think the director, I was watching the behind the scenes stuff, but it's been a while. I think he took out either he sent a letter or he wrote an editorial or something like that, responding to these criticisms, where he basically said that he thought it was messed up that in other films the violence is depicted in a way that's entertaining, and he deliberately made the violence in this film unbearable to watch because that's the reaction that you should have.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's some really disturbing stuff in here. what I find, I don't know, I was watching this and it occurred to me that this whole like scenario of witch hunting and everything to me is, I think, actually scarier than like a serial killer or something like that.
It is.
Like, obviously, like we've talked about before, I'm more scared of like supernatural stuff than real stuff, and there's no supernatural stuff in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, in the world, within the world of natural things, there's something almost comforting about a serial killer movie like The Silence of the Lambs or Misery that we've covered, because it's sort of in the world of that kind of film, there's one person who is an outlier, who's like this weirdo who kills people or tortures people, who does whatever. And the rest of the world is kind of on your side. You know, if you can get out of the house, you know, if you can escape from the lair of this person and get to the police, then you're okay. But in this kind of witch hunt scenario, like, the police are part of the problem. Like,
Right.
there is no outside to get to.
Yeah, I definitely had that feeling too. It's like there's nowhere they can go.
Yeah.
There's nothing they can do about it. Like, they're just trapped, and that like claustrophobic feeling is always like really scary in a horror film.
Definitely. And I don't know, just somehow it's like, it's just way worse when it's everybody kind of going along with this horrible thing.
Right. There's no one who can help you.
Nobody even like is trying to help you. Like, that nobody wants to. There's something, I don't know, in a way it's like very contemporary, you know? Like, I kind of feel like our society is insane, and there's like
Yes.
so many people going around with like just nutso beliefs in their heads.
Yeah. Apathy is terrifying.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that just won't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they see that something terrible is happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I would agree that this is a pretty horrifying film. What would you say is like the most effective element of the picture?
I guess it's realistic. So it's, you know, like you said, the horror aspect, like the violence and stuff is, it's really intense and it's realistic, and it's like this kind of thing really did happen. And remembering that is, it's like another level of horror. It's just, it's so cringy. It's just cringe throughout the entire, it's just horrifying. It's true horror, you know?
I think for me, it's like, I think there are a lot of strong elements, but one that I think is really kind of neat is the constant juxtaposition of beauty and ugliness throughout the film. Like, there's so many shots that are like really beautiful, and we're out in the English countryside and it's summertime and it's like really pretty. Like, the very first shot of the film, we're looking up through the leaves and we can see like the sun shining through, and it kind of like makes a cross, which is like, you know, very ironic, right? Like, that there's this almost like heavenly symbol shining down as we then pan down and we see that some poor woman is being led to her death.
Right.
And there's lots of moments like that in the film, I think, where it's like, you know, all these horrible things are happening, not just the witch hunts, but also the English Civil War. There's blood and death everywhere, but there's also the natural world that's all around them, much more than there is now. Like, you know, now everything's been built up and like the world is so much uglier than it used to be. And so,
Yeah.
I don't know, there's that constant sort of contrast, which I feel like is a component of a lot of like great films. Like, I don't know, Lawrence of Arabia, or, you know, lots of movies sort of do that, where they're sort of contrasting the human story with this like much larger natural world.
Yeah, I get that.
Like the score too, it's got this like really cool, it's very like romantic at points, and that too as sort of like balancing the beauty against the ugliness of the situation. What about weaknesses? Was there anything in the film that you felt like should have been changed or didn't work for you?
Well, obviously I didn't think they needed to do, like, do we need that much rape in this movie? Do we need any of it? Like, it's just, ugh. Like, I really hate it. I really hate that. I think it's cheap, and just knock it off. Also, the gore was really bad. Like, that was just straight up pink paint. That wasn't even, like, you guys didn't even try to make that look like blood.
Yeah, the blood is so bright.
Yeah, it's really fake looking. Like, really fake looking.
I feel like I probably have like a really high tolerance for non-photorealistic gore and makeup effects in movies, you know, like this is something I'm very used to and doesn't bother me usually. Like, I don't know, I showed my class one time a clip from The Company of Wolves, the 1980s werewolf movie based on a Angela Carter story, because we read the story for class, so I showed them part of the movie. And it has this like awesome werewolf transformation where, like, I'm not even going to describe it. Maybe we'll talk about that movie at some point on this show, but anyway, it has like this really cool werewolf transformation thing. And then afterward I had a discussion with the class about it, and they kept saying like, oh, like the special effects were so bad, like they must have had a small budget and all this stuff. And to me it's like, oh my god, it looks so cool. But to them, you know, they're used to everything being CG, and so when it's physically there, like you can tell that, you know, it's not made in a computer, it's like a some kind of animatronic or puppet or something.
Yeah, I always love those.
To them that means it's fake.
I love it when it's more animatronic than CG. CG is bullshit.
Yeah, that's me too. So I feel like normally I can put up with a lot of things not, you know, registering as real blood or real whatever, if it's like, you know, it's what they had to work with at the time. But I definitely feel like there are certain points in this film, like the ending, where it really hurts the film that it looks as bad as it does. Like when so spoilers for the end of the film, when Richard finally gets his revenge on Matthew Hopkins and he's just wailing on him with the axe. Like, he's just hitting him with this axe over and over. And I have to, I guess, disclaimer, I've never seen someone chop someone else up with an axe in real life, but I would imagine that the axe would actually bite into the person and not just be, you know, whacking them like you would whack somebody with a wiffle ball bat.
Yeah.
Which is what it is in the film. So it's obviously a prop axe, and, you know, Vincent Price or the stand-in or whatever is not really being harmed. I would have much preferred that they just cut away their...
Yes. That was disappointing because I really wanted to see him in little tiny pieces. Like, that would have been really satisfying.
You didn't like that character?
Oh, what do you think? Absolutely not. Like, it would have been way more satisfying to me if he was just, like, a stain on the ground at that point. Like, I wanted him to be in smithereens. So...
Talking about the rapes that occur in the film, that really made me think of a number of other movies from before and after this that deal with sort of male heroism through vigilante violence as a response to a rape. So John Ford's The Searchers, Ingmar Bergman's The Virgin Spring, Sam Peckinpah's Straw Dogs, Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver. There's like a bunch of movies that came out around this time. Like, many of those are like classic films, where there is this sexual transgression, and this male hero has to sort of get revenge, in The Searchers, it's like John Wayne. Do you know that one?
Yeah, we watched it together.
Oh, okay, yeah. So he's going after, I guess it's his niece who's been abducted by Native Americans, and he's planning to like kill her because she's been corrupted by them, and ends up not doing it at the end. Bergman's The Virgin Spring. A young woman is raped and murdered, and then the killers go and they happen to stay at her family's house, and then the family discovers what's happened and kill them. That was then the basis for Wes Craven's horror film, The Last House on the Left. Straw Dogs is kind of set in the English countryside, and this American academic goes out there and lives in a house, and then these kind of country yokels rape his wife, and then it ends with this big confrontation where he has to become a man and, kill them. And then Taxi Driver, you have Robert De Niro's character sort of fancies himself a kind of rescuing hero to this girl who is a prostitute, and he kills the pimp at the end of the film. So I don't know, in my mind those are all kind of linked. They're almost like a weird subgenre of like mid to late 20th century film. I don't know, does that sound like crazy to you?
No.
What do you think this film is ultimately saying about that, like, subject matter?
I mean, I'm not a fan of any movie that like uses the female character as like character development for the main male protagonist. Like Sarah was just like a vehicle, right? Like she's just like a plot point.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like these movies where it's like, oh, look at this gallant hero, he's like avenging this woman who was raped. It's like the rape isn't even the point. I just don't like it. I don't like them.
Yeah.
The end.
I was actually going to say the same thing, that to me that's the biggest weakness in the film, is how underwritten Sarah is. Like she really, just functions as like a locus of suffering and violation. Like that's just, things are done to her throughout the film. She doesn't really have a voice.
I didn't like it. Right. Like, this would have been such a better movie if she had avenged herself.
Or, I mean, at least just had a identifiable and believable perspective. Like, when Richard finally does arrive, he finds out what happened, and he says, I'm going to get revenge. I'm going to find this guy and kill him. Like, she doesn't say anything.
Right.
So we don't even know, like, is she on board with his quest of revenge, or like what is her feelings about that?
Yeah.
He doesn't ask, and the film kind of doesn't ask.
It's disappointing.
But at the same time, I don't think that the film is like glorifying Richard's sort of revenge quest. If you read something like Straw Dogs, and I think it's a persuasive reading of Straw Dogs as being about like how to become a man, you have to, to fully mature as a man, you have to take violent action and what's the word? Like create justice, stand up for yourself and for your women. I really don't think that's what is going on here. I think this film is really like problematizing that whole idea of masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
Because Richard he's like this, Dudley Do-Right kind of character, but he just really feels perpetually outmatched by the world that he's in. It's like you've taken this flat, sort of one-dimensional character, and you've put him into this world of like moral grayness and complexity, and he really can't handle it.
Right.
That's the sense that I get anyway. I mean, he's like so feckless. Like he doesn't even show up until I counted, it's 44 minutes into the film that he finally like rides to the rescue.
Yeah, that's another thing. The movie kind of like shifts tones, and it's like, for a second I was like, oh, okay, so we're gonna go get revenge now. Okay, like I'll feel a little bit better about this movie, because up until then I was kind of just like, this movie is just a terrible bummer. It's just a bunch of horrible things that are happening to these people. Like, it didn't feel like there was a point. And I'm like, okay, so this is a revenge movie now. Okay, like, I'm on board with that. It's not going to redeem the movie for me, but it's at least better than it was. But it kind of like it wasn't even satisfying in the end. You know what I mean? Like, the revenge wasn't satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, and not for Richard either, because
Right.
he wanted to be the one to kill Hopkins, but then like his buddy comes in and shoots him, and then he ends the film like shouting,
Yeah.
"You took him from me!
Right.
You took him from me!" And it's like Sarah's just like wailing, and it just ends.
It's like, these people, their lives are just ruined.
Yeah, nothing's really been
Like,
fixed.
Nothing was satisfied. It's just like, the movie's just like, oh, here's some lives we ruined. The end. And it's like, okay, why? What?
Well, to me, what's interesting is that like he doesn't have that like reconciliation with Sarah at the end. There is no like, now we've
Right.
gotten revenge, we've put that behind us, and now we can be together and have a happy ending. Instead, it's like, it feels like his lack of concern for Sarah at the end, and he's saying, "You took him from me." It's almost like Hopkins has replaced Sarah in his, as the object of his sort of devotion. His obsession with getting revenge has displaced Sarah from his life, and it's not what he cares about. It's not about her, so I think, to me, that's like the film's criticism of that whole idea of masculinity and revenge and all that.
Yeah.
Like, it ends up being absurd and horrifying, and not that Richard is like, as bad as Hopkins or anything like that, but the whole logic of getting revenge sort of falls apart in the end, or it's shown to be hollow.
Yeah. It's like his intentions were good at the beginning, but he just like lost track of why he was doing what he was doing, and was just like, an obsession. He was obsessed. So I was disappointed. I wanted a happy ending.
In a way, the film has more of a happy ending than real life.
Yeah. It could have been worse, but still.
Because in real life, Matthew Hopkins did not die from being shot after being hacked up with an axe. He just died in his bed. He retired from witch hunting, and he went back and lived in his town, and then he got sick and he died.
Yeah, that is pretty fucking disappointing.
Yeah, even the sort of anti-resolution of the film is like more satisfying than what really happened.
Ugh.
So yeah, I said the film's world is kind of morally gray. I feel like there's a sense in which that's true. It's like, it's definitely a dark setting, a dark vision of humanity, but it's not like morally gray in the sense that we're not sure who to root for. Like, the film definitely tells us that we don't like Matthew Hopkins from the very beginning. Like, the narrator basically tells us he's a bad guy. And same thing with Stern. Like, Hopkins and Stern are just evil. Like, there's no redeeming quality to them.
Right.
I guess that leads me to another interesting behind the scenes thing about this film, which is that Reeve wanted Donald Pleasance for the Hopkins role, and the film studio basically forced Vincent Price on him. And so he and Price feuded throughout the making of the film. They never got along, and Reeve was like really mean to him. And I guess it turns out that, or at least this is what Price later said, is that Reeve was deliberately kind of goading him and being cruel to him, kind of like we talked about Stanley Kubrick did to Shelley Duvall on the set of The Shining, in order to try to get the performance out of him that he wanted, to get him frustrated and angry and upset, because he didn't want the kind of trademark Vincent Price, hammy, charismatic, sophisticated character that Vincent Price would kind of play in most of the movies that he was in. He wanted something that was a lot darker and more grim. And I definitely think if you look at this Price performance compared to something like House on Haunted Hill or, the Poe movies that he made, I think there's a difference.
Definitely.
What did you think of that, the Price performance?
Well, he made me hate him. So I usually love Vincent Price, So it's like, ugh. Now I hate your face.
Yeah, I think that's what Reeve was worried about.
Yeah, it was very different. I thought it was very different than his usual performance.
How do you think the film would be different if he had given a more normal performance for him? Or how would it be different if it was Donald Pleasance?
Well, I don't know Donald Pleasance, I don't think. Obviously Vincent Price did a good job because we're supposed to hate him. He did a good job of getting us to hate him. He sucked, Not in his performance,
yeah.
But like his character sucks. So, yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah, I think the thing with Donald Pleasance, and they talk about this in the commentary track on the Blu-ray, is like he's not as charismatic, and he's kind of good at playing characters that are kind of like just gross. He's like a smaller person. I think in the script at that point they had scenes that were almost like comical where he would like fall off of his horse and stuff. So there was more of like a contrast between him and Stern, with Stern being the brawn and he's more like the brains, but he's like not physically imposing. It's Stern that has to do all the heavy lifting. And he's also kind of like in that version of the film, he would kind of be almost the counterpart to Richard, in that Richard is like a parody of the Dudley Do-Right hero of a traditional adventure story, and he is like, a much smaller and less impressive version of the villain archetype. He's no Darth Vader. He's just this like gross, amoral sort of bureaucrat going around organizing lynchings. And Vincent Price is like much more physically impressive. He was like, what, 6'4" or something? He's a really physically imposing person. And he still has that like Vincent Price command of diction, and he has this composure to him that I think makes him always seem like a threat. He also turns out to be, not so bad in a fight, like that time that he like escapes from the soldiers and he just pulls his gun out and kills that one guy. So I don't know. I think the film ended up not having as much of a contrast between the two villains as you might think, because then Stern is also kind of clever. Like, he's a brute, but he's not stupid.
Right.
We obviously can't go back and watch the other version of the film that never got made, but yeah, I think it's pretty strong. But yeah, the film doesn't really subvert the sort of trope of the evil villain. It doesn't ask us to see both sides of the witch hunt phenomenon. Like, it's just completely wicked and insane, which I think is fair enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to me like the film is really interested in witchcraft per se, though.
Yeah, they didn't really get into all that very much. You kind of like are expected to know about all that stuff already on your own.
Yeah, but like compared to something like, I don't know, Arthur Miller's The Crucible, we really don't hear like testimony of witnesses saying what the witches did, and descriptions of the witches' Sabbath and whatever, that kind of stuff. We don't see people pretend to be possessed or any kind of thing like that. It's like the actual like beliefs that people had at that time about witches. I get the sense that the film thinks of those as not really the heart of what motivated these witch hunts.
Right, because it wasn't.
Well, what do you think was?
I think people just got like drunk on power. This was a way to like have power over people. And, there's like these dark sides of certain people that they were able to play into and cultivate and act upon. It was just an excuse.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it is for Hopkins and Stern. We also see that the townsfolk, they already hate the priest.
Right. It was just like I think it depends on what type of person you were. If you were the person like Vincent Price's character, then you have you enjoy tormenting others. You're some kind of sadist. But then there's people who maybe just like they lent something to their neighbor, neighbor never gave it back, so they're like, you know what? Fuck that guy. I'm going to say that he's a witch. You know what I mean? Like, some people kind of use it as an excuse just to, like, get rid of someone they didn't like, or it's just like a mass hysteria thing. Like, there's a lot going on with that,
Yeah. I have to say, to me, that view of it would almost be, like, comforting in a way. What really kind of scares me about this whole thing, and I don't know about scares, but it's like, I find it so incomprehensible, and yet I think it's true, is that people really believed in witches and all this stuff. People may not know. I kind of study this period of history, like, for a living. I teach classes about it and stuff. And that's always something that I've had trouble wrapping my head around, is, like, the beliefs about witches and witchcraft. Because if you go and read the actual books, like the demonology books and like the Malleus Maleficarum, the Hammer of Witches, which was like this really popular witch hunting manual at the time, they're full of all these like depictions of witches and demons and stuff that are just comical. Like they're like out of a children's storybook, and it's so surreal to read this stuff and know that, like, this isn't a fairy tale. This is something that was used as the pretext for killing thousands and thousands of people, because there's like these stories. Like, I remember one that was in the Malleus Maleficarum is about like this witch who like steals men's penises.
Oh yeah.
And she puts them in a box and then hides it up in a tree, and so this guy like climbs up in the tree and he gets the box, and like the penises are in there and they're like crawling around. And I think I don't remember like the end of the story, but I think there was some kind of thing where it's like, he could have picked a bigger one than he actually had. He could have picked somebody else's and used that one instead. And it's like, this is like a folk tale, like this is something from the Brothers Grimm, or this is it operates on this kind of fairy tale logic where animals can talk, and someone can steal your nose and just no blood is involved, it just comes off of your face and goes into a box, like that. It's hard to explain what I find so disturbing about this. Like, it doesn't seem like the kind of thing that's even meant to be believed.
Right. It's clearly like fantastical, and someone had quite the imagination. Like, someone made this shit up. You know what I mean? Like, sure. A lot of people probably, but it's like they like yes-anded their way into this horrifying genocide, and it's like really, yeah, it's really scary.
Yeah. So to me, that's like the vortex of strangeness that all of this kind of witch stuff circles around.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I kind of feel like in this film, it's making a connection between, I guess what's interesting about it to me is like in a lot of witch hunting sort of things, it seems like it's the repressive social structures that are doing it, which often was the case. It's the police and it's the priests and it's the Inquisition and whatever, these institutions that are engaging in this. And here it's like it's the breakdown of those larger structures that allows for Hopkins to go around and do this, because everything he's doing is illegal, really. You're not supposed to torture people, for instance, in England, which is why in England there really weren't very many witch trials and witch executions, compared to on the continent, where torture was like a normal part of criminal procedure. You could torture people to confess.
Of course.
In England, that wasn't any part of the legal process. Confession that was obtained under torture would not be admissible in court. So you can sort of see how if your legal process involves torturing people until they not only confess but give you the names of other people that are witches, then that very easily leads to this witch hunt that spirals out of control until you have hundreds of people being charged and executed. Whereas in England, that kind of didn't happen. And I think that the real life witch persecutions that Matthew Hopkins was involved in during the Civil War were the height of witch hunts in England. Like these were the bloodiest that it ever got.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's like it's connected to this sort of breakdown of order in this film. It's like there are these antagonisms and energies and prejudices that people have that in a way are controlled when things are under control, but then when things break down, then those come out and people sort of devolve into savagery.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah. It reminds me of a text that was written around this time, Thomas Hobbes's book Leviathan, which famously says that the life of man in the state of nature is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short, and that because without any kind of government, people are naturally going to fall to just killing each other. That's why government was invented. It's a kind of agreement. It's a social contract by which everybody kind of says, look, the state of nature is the worst possible situation, so we can at least get out of that if we all agree to have one person or one group of people put over us that has the monopoly on the use of violence. And Hobbes was kind of, he was writing during this period and doubtless influenced by the chaos of the English Civil War. So, I don't know. I wonder if Reeve was thinking about that.
Maybe.
Other thoughts about this picture?
I'm never watching it again.
Would you recommend it?
No. No, I would not. Not to anybody. Ever.
Okay, well, I think I would. Obviously, I did recommend it to watch for this show.
I don't know why you chose this movie. And I'm a little mad at you.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess I figured because it's so old, it's okay that it's like, bleak and violent and horrible.
Apparently, it's not old enough.
Yeah. To me, that is a good thing, that kind of means that it holds up, that it can still be shocking and horrifying.
Yeah, definitely is those things.
Even with the bad gore effects and everything.
Yes. Even with the pink paint. It's
just kind of unflinching in its depiction of this stuff. And it doesn't go overboard either, you know? Like, I hope people aren't imagining that there's like fountains of blood spewing out or anything. It's pretty grounded. I like that there's no hint of the supernatural. I'm coming out here as someone who doesn't believe in that kind of thing. That kind of fits with my own view of what happened in this period and witches in general. You know, I don't think that they're real, and to me the horror of the situation is all on the side of just how this was allowed to go on.
You just couldn't help yourself, could you? You had to say it.
Like, I don't know. I did enjoy the film The Witch that came out, I think it was in 2015. But that's a film that kind of, I feel like, tried to do both. Like, you see the paranoia and the kind of social and interpersonal dynamics of how people come to accuse each other and get flipped out and do bad things because of their fear of witches. But also, there's a real witch, and that's horrifying as well. She's like eating babies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that kind of doesn't work. Like, you need to go with one or the other.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm probably canceled now by all the people who love The Witch, because like that's like a lot of people's favorite modern horror film.
You canceled yourself at the beginning of this episode, so it's fine.
Oh yeah? What did
Yeah.
I? Oh, when I said that like the people who voted were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's okay to be wrong sometimes, you know? Everybody's wrong sometimes.
That is true.
What are we going to be watching for next time, Heather?
The Mummy.
The Mummy. Okay. From 1932?
Are you asking me? Yes.
Yeah, we're not going to watch the Brendan Fraser one.
Oh, man. I just watched that like last week.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, those are pretty good. We're watching the OG Mummy with Boris Karloff.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see you then.
Okay, bye.